Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the living, breathing heart of India's democracy. We're going to take a really fascinating journey into the structures, the processes, and the rich traditions that actually govern the world's largest democracy. So let's just jump right in and uncover how a nation of over 1 billion people actually manages to make its laws and hold its leaders accountable.
To set the stage, think about this incredibly powerful quote from November 1949, spoken during the Constituent Assembly debates by Alladi Krishnaswamy IR. It captures the exact essence of what a constitution is meant to be. He argued it isn't just some dry, boring set of rules for lawyers to argue over. No, it's a vehicle of life. And what we're going to explore today is exactly how India's parliament acts as the engine for that vehicle, literally turning a written document into everyday reality for its citizens.
Here is our roadmap for today. Section 1, a modern democratic temple. 2, the Houses of Parliament. 3, the journey of a law. And 4, keeping leaders accountable. Part 1, a modern democratic temple. It's amazing to look at the architectural evolution of this space. For over 7 decades, the country's legislative heart was the circular, iconic old parliament building, which is now known as Samvidhan Sadan. It even hosted the original Constituent Assembly back in the day. But right next to it, we now have the brand new Parliament building. It was designed to accommodate a growing capacity and totally modernized technological needs. And what's really cool is that it incorporates green construction techniques that actually cut electricity use by 30%. And the design of that new building? It's pretty striking. It's not your standard square or circle. It's actually a soft triangle. Now, this three-sided design isn't just an arbitrary choice to look modern. It's actually a deliberate reflection of balance, inclusivity, and purpose, really looking toward a sustainable future. But the moment you step inside, wow, it feels incredibly historical. The walls are beautifully decked out with carvings of peacocks, lotuses, tribal art, and ancient temple patterns. Honestly, it's basically a museum showcasing the nation's ancient roots. It's this brilliant reminder to everyone walking those halls that while this is a completely modern democracy, it is deeply, deeply rooted in the ancient traditions of collective decision-making. You know, like the village panchayats in the ancient republics known as the Mahajanapadas. It's looking ahead for sure, but never forgetting where it came from. Part 2, the Houses of Parliament. Okay, so the absolutely crucial point to understand here is the concept of a bicameral system. India's framers knew right away that a single house couldn't possibly meet the diverse, complex challenges of a newly independent nation. So they drew inspiration from the British system and their own federal needs to create a bicameral structure. Simply put, bi means two, and cameral means chamber. 2 chambers. Let's break down how that dual structure actually functions. First up, you have the Lok Sabha, or the House of the People. This is where up to 550 members are directly elected by citizens through universal adult suffrage, which just means every single adult citizen has the right to vote. Then, on the flip side, you have the Rajya Sabha, or the Council of States, whose members are indirectly elected. This dual setup is just brilliant because it balances the direct voice of the people in the Lok Sabha with the federal interests of the individual states in the Rajya Sabha. It keeps national unity and local interests in total harmony.
Now, inside the Lok Sabha chamber, which has this very distinct, striking green theme, you've got the speaker, elected by the members to keep everyone in line and ensure the rules are actually followed. And let me tell you, the debates in here get incredibly lively. To make sure these intense discussions are accessible to representatives from all across such a diverse country, they provide simultaneous translation. It originally covered 12 languages, but recently expanded to include languages like Bodo, Dogri, Maithili, Manipuri, Urdu, and Sanskrit. It's a true melting pot of Indian voices.
Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha chamber is distinguished by a deep red aesthetic. This upper house is presided over by the Vice President of India, who acts as its chairperson. So, if the Lok Sabha is the direct pulse of the national population, you can think of the Rajya Sabha as the ultimate guardian of India's federalism. It ensures that the diverse states always have a structured, powerful voice at the central level. Part 3, the journey of a law. Now, Parliament doesn't just sit around debating for the fun of it. They've got a seriously heavy workload. They handle constitutional functions, like amending the Constitution itself and electing the president. They manage financial accountability, dealing with massive things like the union budget. They hold the executive branch accountable. But arguably its most dynamic, and definitely its most recognizable function, is the rigorous process of lawmaking.
I like to think of a law kind of like a hero on a really long, epic journey. Take the Rights of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act, or the RTE. The roots of this idea go back decades. Back in the early 90s, it was actually argued in court that education was a fundamental part of the right to life. That argument eventually led to a constitutional amendment in 2002. But get this, it wasn't until 2008 that it was finally tabled as a bill in the Rajya Sabha, where it was heavily debated over the costs for new schools and teachers. It finally passed in 2009. It takes immense, sustained effort to turn a broad constitutional idea into a concrete reality.
So what does that grueling path actually look like? Well, a bill, which is essentially just a rough draft of a proposed law, has to survive a gauntlet. First, it gets introduced in a House. Then it's read so members actually understand the contents, and it's very often sent to a standing committee for some really deep, granular scrutiny. After that comes a rigorous, clause-by-clause discussion and a vote. If it somehow survives all of that, the whole process repeats in the other House. Finally, it requires presidential assent and a Gazette notification, an official public record, to legally become a law. It's a marathon, ensuring every single law is heavily scrutinized. And it's through this exact, meticulous mechanism that the abstract promises written in the Constitution of India are forged into real, enforceable rights for everyday citizens. Basically, the legislative process is what gives the Constitution its teeth. Part 4. Keeping leaders accountable. Now, there's a really fascinating artifact placed right near the Speaker's chair in the new Lok Sabha. It's called the Sengol. It's a gold-plated silver scepter that actually dates back to the Chola period, with a Nandi sitting at the very top, symbolizing justice. Historically, this was handed to new rulers as a strict reminder that power must always be guided by dharma and righteousness. It was actually given to India's first prime minister in 1947. Today, it serves as a constant, glittering reminder to the executive branch that their rule must always be just. But accountability in Parliament isn't just symbolic, right? It's highly practical. The executive branch, which includes the prime minister and the council of ministers, they are never left to rule unchecked. During the question hour, which is typically the very first hour of a parliamentary session, these ministers literally have to stand before their peers in the Lok Sabha. They are forced to fiercely justify their everyday governance, answer incredibly direct questions about their policies, and explain their actions. But here's the thing. Holding leaders to account isn't always dry or strictly formal. It is deeply cultural. Parliamentarians frequently use rich poetry, literature, and sharp humor to make their points. Take this famous biting verse quoted in a 2011 debate by parliamentarian Sushma Swaraj to critique the government's leadership. Even massive financial budgets are presented with ancient poetic verses like the Terracoral. It really shows that Parliament isn't just a bureaucracy. It's a vibrant, deeply human place where debate takes so many different forms. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We've seen the incredible architecture, the rigorous processes, and the rich traditions that make up the Indian Parliament. But at the end of the day, a democracy only truly works if the people remained engaged. So consider this. How does your own voice, your civic awareness, and your vote play a vital part in keeping the spirit of the Constitution alive? How do you ensure your leaders uphold that symbol of righteous rule? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. And remember to keep asking the big questions.